Updating you now on some breaking news we are getting into us dealing with the Chinese military. The Pentagon now informing us that a Chinese military plane came within 20 feet of a U.S. Air Force aircraft. Now, because of this, the U.S. aircraft, we've learned, was forced to make an evasive maneuver to avoid a collision over the South China Sea. This happening back on December the 21st. But again, we are just learning about this breaking news. And to react to that and get more insight, joining us is former Chief of Staff at the National Security Council and retired CIA analyst Fred Fleitz. Fred, always great to see you.
Hey, Bianca, good to be here.
All right, first off, the breaking news, your reaction about this near collision. Obviously, there was an evasive maneuver. Your thoughts that we're learning about this now?
Well, it's a very troubling development. We know so many wars have broken out because of miscalculation when foolish maneuvers take place like this that causes some type of military clash that spins out of control. I mean, China is being deliberately provocative. It has really been flexing its muscles over the past 2 years. I think in large part, this is because of a perception of American weakness, and I don't think it bodes well for 2023.
You know, and obviously we know that there has been action in the, China Sea there between Taiwan. We've heard about naval exercises, the ones that happened recently, just a few days ago, between China and Russia. So we know there's been an uptick. But the fact that there was a jet within 20 feet, I mean, obviously this is a near miss. It could have gone the wrong way here. Do you think there was an intent possibly not to release this and it was about to be leaked? So that's why we're hearing about it, because obviously the concern may be how the reaction is now of the news, not just the news itself, Fred, but how the reaction is from both sides, China and the U.S.
It's not uncommon that incidents like this aren't released immediately. There's obviously no media on the scene. The Pentagon has to decide when they're going to release it. They may have been trying to get some type of an explanation from the Chinese government. I hope this was immediately reported to Congress. If not, Democrats and Republicans should be asking questions, because, this could have been a major military skirmish between the U.S. and China. So we need answers.
Yeah, for sure. Moving a little bit to China and Putin. Reportedly, the two will talk, Xi and Putin, before the end of the year. Obviously, this has been a big concern, since their friendship that knows no bounds. And, we're into 300-plus days of the war in Ukraine. We just saw the biggest barrage of missiles, Fred, as you know, overnight. What do you think these two world leaders will be discussing? And, if anything will come of it that we will even know of until, maybe months later?
Well, it's a complicated relationship, and it's not exactly a friendship that knows no bounds. Clearly, both states would like to work together to basically make the U.S. no longer be the world's leading power. I think the Chinese are buying energy at enormous discounts from Russia. But China has not been as close a friend of the Russians as Putin would have hoped. They have not helped Russia evade Western sanctions on Russian banks. They have not provided weapons to Russia, which it would like. This is why the Russians are turning to Iran and North Korea for weapons. The Russians are desperate in that case. I would think that Putin is going to press for greater cooperation, and I think Xi is going to still want to collaborate with Russia against the United States, but express reservations about the war in Ukraine.
Speaking of the war in Ukraine, I do want to talk to you and ask you about these JDAM missiles that could be going over to Ukraine, your reaction and what those could do for where we are right now, as we see, obviously, a huge attack by Russia overnight on infrastructure, civilian targets, Fred.
There was a very deadly series of missile attacks in Ukraine overnight that's raising real concerns about whether this is going to be a deadly war of attrition. JDAMs are satellite-guided bombs dropped from planes. It's a significant increase in weapons that were provided to Ukraine. It is an offensive capability that will prove very provocative to Russia. Now, I think the Russians knew that this was coming, but nevertheless, it's going to be a powerful weapon that the Ukrainians will be able to use, maybe to press a new offensive against Russia in the spring.
Just about 90 seconds left, Fred. I mean, as we see, sort of what's happening, we had talked a few weeks ago, or there was talks about possibly getting peace talks, and now it just seems so far apart. But other military experts, and perhaps I'd love to get your expertise on this, say that, both Ukraine and Russia may be accelerating. Ukraine also reaching, targets inside Russia to try and get more leverage when and if there is, some talks at a negotiating table.
Right now, both sides have preconditions that prevents talks from starting. I think that there will be pressure on the Biden administration and the Ukrainian government by the new Republican House to try to find talks without preconditions. They may not lead anywhere, but as Churchill said, talk is better than war. And I think we need to be looking at a possibility of some kind of organic ceasefire and then negotiate how to wind this conflict down. I got to tell you, I don't think most members of Congress are willing to provide this enormous amount of weapons to Ukraine for an unending war. I think they're with Ukraine now, but I think as we get into 2023, mid-2023, there'll be considerable pressure to at least sit down and talk, even if the prospects of a peace settlement are far off.
Retired CIA analyst Fred Fleitz, as always, great to see you. Thanks for joining us today.